Right, we're live. The window is closing faster than you think.
In dating,
yes, the window's closing very fast.
Well, and in life, I'm a big fan of Memento Mori, and the reality is, it's not just for dating. We have a finite window for dating. I mean, we say when guys actually start to probably map this out, most guys that I come across, it can be earlier, but they're not really taking it seriously. Probably late 20s upwards. Yeah. So you've got a window, really, let's say, of 30 years to really make it happen. You can obviously do stuff past that, but to really build your value and max everything out, you've got 30 years, which actually, if you're 28, seems like a relatively long time. But I mean, I'm older than 28. You've got a few years on me. Obviously, time is a weird one where it passes inordinately fast, doesn't it? Faster than every week that passes. But also on a grander level, if you look at it in universal terms, zoom out a bit more, our lifespan is actually not that long, although it seems like life often stretches. It doesn't. And then if you look at it really in universal terms of, billions of years the universe has been around, it's just a blip in the ocean, your entire lifespan. So yeah, time is of the essence with this stuff. What can one say? Even now, to be honest, like I'm walking around the streets and I'm in Brazil. I'm in São Paulo. I'm off to Rio. Even now, I kind of walk around, and the first carnival I came to was maybe 7 years ago, and they had a pre-carnival this weekend in São Paulo. And I walk around, I go, ooh, okay. There's some hot girls, but they're quite young, and not underage, but just young. And I'm thinking, fucking hell. Even the time I've started coming to carnival, which has been 7 years, this may be my last one. I do. It's gone in the blink of an eye. It really has. So obviously we're going to dive into this as usual with some key points, but I think the idea of just realizing we have a finite amount of energy and reps and everything in life is super important with dating, and super important to clarify your goals overall, especially with dating, because it's one of the most important things you're going to do. Who you're going to spend your time with in a sexual manner, and give your most precious assets to, your finite resources, your energy, your time, and your attention, and then who potentially you create something more stable with. These are very, very important things you need to consciously take control of, and not just wing it, hope for the best, as most people do, the clueless kind of blunder forward and hope for the best routine. So, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Agree with all of that. And actually, some of the points we'll get into some of this stuff a little bit more. So the first point, number one, the dating market is age sensitive, whether you like it or not. Men assume desirability rises infinitely with age, because there is this whole thing, men age like fine wine, women age like milk, that perception. So that's created this thing where a lot of guys will listen to that and then they'll go, oh, right, okay, so it's all good, it's all good, I've got forever. In reality, it rises with status and competence, not simply years lived. If those things are built in parallel, age works against you, not for you. So I think the point with that is the caveat of yes, you can get better as you age. Up to us, there probably is a top line for that. I was maybe mid-50s or something, but it doesn't mean you definitely will. It means that if you keep the plate spinning, if you keep things in shape, then you can certainly increase in your value, but it's not a definite by any means. If you just sit there on the couch and do nothing, you're going to decline.
Yeah, that's so important. You need to be doing stuff each day which is going to compound, whether that's wealth, whether that's health, whether that's languages, fighting, whatever. But if you just sit there like a couch potato and age, you don't age into suddenly this fine, artifact that can go out and slay. Absolutely, you. But it's totally within your hands. I think we're so lucky. Guys are always like, oh, women have got it so easy. They don't really, right? Yeah. You're 18 as a woman, you're in your prime. That lasts till maybe 22, 23, and then it's quite a sharp drop off quite quickly by the age of 30. If you haven't cashed your chips out with a decent option, you're fighting an uphill battle, because you can't really go out to clubs and compete with 21-year-olds. Men just don't look at you, or the men you want to be looking at you don't look at you.
Yeah.
And I've had it recently. A couple of girls I've hooked up with, they're one's 29, one's 31, and a couple are 18, and one's 22, and you can see the difference in just the way they see life. Like one of the ones who was cool, she's hot, but she's 29. She goes, yeah, I really feel my age in a moment of kind of sobering, like kind of vulnerability. And I'm like, oh, it's all right. I'll find you. I'm just being like, I can find you a nice gringo. She's like, yeah, but I'm really, so you can see that the struggle is real. They have this whole thing within 12 years. And so I never took it personally. If a woman at any stage bins me off, I'm just like, yeah, fair enough. Because I don't have to do this shit in 12 years. And so as men, the point I was trying to make is, as men, we're so lucky. We can build our value over 20, 30 years. And every single component of your sexual market value, how attractive you are to women, can be engineered from a male perspective. Everything.
Yes.
The only thing actually that can't is height, but it actually can if you want to be extremist and do the Turkish Express, the Midnight Express.
Yeah.
Breaking. Everything can be. Go ahead.
Or get some shoes with
platform shoes, the old Timberlands. Yeah, but we are very lucky, and I think it's about seeing, unless you're going to gender reassign, you've just got to play what's in front of you. You've got to play the hand you're dealt to the best of its ability and max out the stats. What else are you going to do? Might as well do it, right? Yeah. And by doing so, you have way more options. What was the original point? Just so we circle it to square the circle. What was the actual point you made?
The dating market is age sensitive, whether you like it or not.
Yes, and you can use it in your favor if you actively build those components. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, because we talk a lot about this, don't we? About aging and being a bit older in dating and stuff. And obviously, I'm older and so on. But it's not to say it's possible. It's definitely doable. And it's doable for most guys if they keep themselves, if they know what they're doing and they try and keep in reasonable shape and everything else, it's definitely doable. But it's not a guarantee. You can't just sit there at 25 and go, oh, well, I'll just wait till I'm late. Like that guy who was saying, can you coach me in 15 years? I mean, that's a really bad strategy because you don't know. By the time you're 40, even by the time you're 40, you could be born. I mean, I know dudes who are 40 who look like, probably older than me, right? They look like they're shagged out already by life, and so you've got to do the right things as well as you. Well,
understanding is power, isn't it? Because I know guys that are they've accelerated in their youth. They're in high-end careers. They're high up in the medical profession, biotech industry, whatever. They're in really good shape. They thought they were living the dream. So they had a hot girlfriend, bought an apartment, bought some property, have a cool car, got some savings, but they're clueless about this shit, and they get dumped at 35. And it's almost like they've got the capacity in this realm of an 18-year-old boy because they just haven't exposed themselves to this stuff. Don't know the Evo site behind it. They don't know how to go out and get a new girl because they just relied on having that one hot girlfriend who they became too needy with, who just fucked them off. And they have it kind of made in some area, but they're totally naive in this area. And what I see it the whole time, I sit with my group of mates at school. They got up to the age of 30 and all of their wives or girlfriends at the time were 30, 31. And obviously they go, right, that's us cashing our chips out. The guy does that totally clueless of his own value. He doesn't even realize his stock's still rising. And he's suddenly in a marriage he doesn't want to be in. So it's a lack of education. It's a lack of self-education in this, actually. And again, not to pin it all back to say Tomasi, but The Rational Male for me, I'm glad I read that book relatively early on because it really, really revealed these kind of truths that you're never going to be taught that. No one's ever going to sit you down and go, oh, by the way, your sexual market rises as a man. It kind of peaks late 30s. It means you can pork anyone. No one tells you that shit, right? No one tells you. So,
well, I mean, guys are lucky that he put that book out, and also, I mean, we're still banging the drum for it. We're talking about it. So now we've got the internet. Some people are talking about it, but it's not something that is popularly talked about in the rest of society, really, is it?
Well, it's not even obvious, is it? Even if you get into the dating space and go, I'm going to try and get better at this stuff, what to even look at? Because there's so much content by content creators. And it's not like there's a strategy guide where it's like, well, read that, then do that. Everyone, I mean, it's a minefield of just information. Most of it clickbait shit of people charging around and slagging off like fat girls. So it's actually not even easy, even though the information's there, to actually know what to do or know what's valuable or not.
Yeah, so the best thing to do really is to find a content creators that you vibe with and you kind of trust, and sort of follow them. I mean, it's best not, I would say, to shop around too much, or at least follow somebody for a while and see if their advice works. And if it does, keep following them. Hopefully it's us, but even if it's not us, if it's somebody else, fine. But, I think you've got to pick somebody, you get a good vibe. You think that they know what they're talking about. They probably had some results. They're a decent guy. They're not nuts, because a lot of people are crazy in this industry, us included, but, it's how you moderate it, I suppose. And don't you could go too wide with this stuff, and this is a lot of these guys are like, oh, what do you think about, Ed Game and all this kind of stuff? It's like, oh, I follow Ed Game, but then I follow Todd V and then this dude over here. And it's like, yeah, you're getting too much input. You need to just be getting out there and just learning a few things and going out there and trying it yourself.
If I had my time again, I'd have read the Rational Mail and I'd have paid a coach basically to make sure each week I did 30 reps. And I'd have probably just gone out with the idea of I've got to be playful and talk to people every day, at least 5 people randomly. That's all I would have done. I wouldn't have overloaded with theory. I didn't need it. It actually prevented me from taking action for a long time. And action cures all ills. If you repeatedly just take action, and that's the secret sauce. 90% of this is just taking action and readjusting from that. Obviously watch us if we're saying, right, use XYZ as an opener, great, use that. But then do it 20, 30 times,
Yeah.
And guys seems to be allergic to action. Of course, he was going to come up in the stream because he always seems to do from beyond the grave. But TT used to say, right, you've got to do your action and then you get your theory. And actually, I abided by that rule. I would go out and do 20 reps each week, and then I'd get my reward because it's very addictive, isn't it? This stuff. Well, there wasn't anything to watch really back then, but I get to read an hour of theory. But most guys still get it the other way around. They do 99% theory, 99% jerking off to these sort of streams, not actually, but metaphorically. And 1% might talk to one girl, Stacey at the water cooler at work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really working in your dating life, is it? That's doing all the stuff behind the scenes, thinking you're preparing yourself. You're not. You're just making it harder, actually, because you start overthinking stuff. Did you ever get into that phase where you were kind of you read a lot of theory and you were overthinking interactions, or rabbit hole?
I don't know if I did, and I don't want to say that in a way that I'm like bigging myself up. I mean, I certainly did read a lot of theory. I certainly did go down a rabbit hole.
But you were taking action at the same time.
But I was taking action, but that was just because I just wanted to.
Well, you're a horny. You did it. You did it. What age did you really get started with this stuff? Kind of mid-20s.
27.
Okay, so similar age to me. But I did.
No, but before that, I was going. Well, it's probably not unsimilar to you, really, because I was going out and approaching before that, in clubs and stuff. But it was just completely untutored, and a lot of it was drink fueled. And then
we had a similar progression with it then, because I was the same. I was charging around absolutely leathered, horny, wanting to get laid, but it was so hit and miss because I had no. Yeah. And some days I'd just go out and just be really introverted, so I wouldn't even speak to people. You do that thing of swinging your pint in the corner.
Yeah.
And then
sounds holding the glass like this.
Yeah, nervously looking around like this. Yeah. Just hoping some girl's going to drop into your lap. I mean, but you were very clear in the early days, really. You just wanted to get laid, didn't you? So you're driven by this inherent desire just to get fucking laid, which really trumps everything. Because as a good looking loser says, when your desire to get laid outweighs your desire, for validation, you just don't give a shit, right? You can get rejected all day long because you can get rejected by 30 women. You go home with girl number 31, you're happy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was driven by a massive, maybe you could say sex addiction really at the time. I mean, obviously it's worn off now, but I mean, at the time I was just driven by this unquenchable need to go and meet girls. So it wasn't even a question of sort of, I'm going to just read so much theory that I'm not going to spend any time doing it because I just wanted the results. And I think in a way it's that sort of drive. And again, I don't want to big myself up here because, it's just, that's how I happen to be wired at that time. But I think that sort of drive is what a lot of these guys are missing, guys that we work with, because they don't really have that drive. So they're starting off from a sort of a basis of theoretically this would be nice. Theoretically, it'd be kind of nice to, to meet a few girls, but they're not really driven by that. And so how do you
Right.
then make them do it? Well, it's very hard. And this is why, we'll work with guys and we end up having weekly conversations where we're saying, right, have you done your approaches? And they're like, well, the dog ate my homework. It's like, it shouldn't be like that. It should be the other way around. They should be doing so many approaches and then messaging us on WhatsApp going, oh, I've done another one and this happened and this crazy thing happened. And, it's very rarely like that. So that lack of drive, and that's why a couple of years back, we started to talk more about hormone replacement and testosterone and stuff, because we wondered if it was, how much it was tied to that.
Well,
guys,
I think largely it is tied to that, and it's interesting. We see a number of guys. We get them to get the hormones tested. The free testosterone is the golden reading you want to look at. We see that's actually low. There's nowhere to hide. And then what shocks me even more is guys see that and they still don't do anything about it. And I'm not saying you have to get on synthetic testosterone. It seems to be very polarizing. I'm not sure why, but it seems to be. You can to a degree. There's a load of the companies. Chris Williamson always talks about it on Modern Wisdom. Marek Health, they have protocols using boron and zinc and things where you can address naturally your levels. So it's not just you have to jump to synthetic testosterone, but you need to do something about it, because the low T manifests as poor sleep, anxiety, depressive tendencies, lack of energy, overthinking. It's the masculine hormone, right? So if you're deficient in it, you're going to not necessarily grow tits, but you're going to showcase more of the kind of quote unquote feminine traits, sensitivity, overly emotional, overthinking, things like this. And it's within your control to look at. So I'd really recommend anyone over the age of 30, draw your bloods. The key measures you want to look at, send us an email, info@james.Tuskall, Troy Fox, list of the bloods to get. But you want to definitely look at your total testosterone and free testosterone. That's the golden one. And a very, very high proportion of guys we've worked with who are over the age of 30, when we get them to get their bloods, are low T. And it is something that's very, very necessary to look at. Yeah,
because really, certainly when you're a young guy, you should really be driven by this stuff, shouldn't you?
Even up to really late 30s, I'd say. If you're training hard, you're actually going to the gym, you're not a fat fuck, you're eating reasonably well, and you're not completely pounding yourself with partying, right? Substances and booze. You should naturally want to get laid, right? It's inbuilt into us because the need to reproduce is very real. Your body doesn't know you're not actually reproducing. But if your desire there isn't there with women, there's something off. Definitely up to mid-30s. Definitely up to mid-30s.
Did we do this one? I've lost where we've got.
No, we're we're waffling. We're doing the old mind waffle mensch, the wheat waffles.
Did we do this one?
Just on point one.
Oh, well, right, okay, all right. Because we sort of get into this now. So number 2, energy decline is real and it shows. So approaching, flirting, socializing, leading interactions all require nervous system energy. Men in their late 30s, 40s who've neglected health, often begin to feel socially fatigued before they've even begun. Women read vitality instantly. So that's important, isn't it? Because if you're showing up and you're physically tired and you're not enlivened by this process and you just rock up and you're like, oh, hi, hey, babe, yeah, are you French? It's not going to come across very well, is it? And as you get older, if you've neglected this stuff, and also if you've neglected your physical health and all the rest of it, then that lack of sort of drive, it's not only important to have the drive in order to do it in the first place, it's also she can feel the drive with the way that you come across. And if that drive is lacking, it's a bit like, it's a bit meh, isn't it?
What was the point it made? Your energy needs to be on point, or it's about being in state. What was the?
No, the energy decline is real and it shows. So it's saying that doing all that stuff requires nervous system energy.
Yeah, I think you absolutely. This is another reason to really look at optimizing your hormones. It's just a no-brainer. I don't get why guys wouldn't at least want to know what's going on internally, seeing as we are just balls of fucking millions of neurons firing and cells stitched together. And it's a very easy blood test to do. And the bloods don't lie. It's just clear data. And then you can do what you want with it. We have one client like this, and I think it's changed slightly now because he's done some quite hardcore kind of overhaul, but always turning up tired. And it's like the girl is just not buying into it. If you're not even buying into your own energy, if you're kind of there kind of a bit slumped over. The girl's not having any of it. You know, you've got to be excited by life. You've got to be enlivened by life.
Yeah, completely. And that
get the bloods checked, and if you need the list of bloods to get, send us an email. I'll send it.
But it's also, you should absolutely do that. But it's also an argument to get on top of this stuff early, because the more you want to use your more youthful years as your, not only to have some amazing experiences, but also to get the experience under your the experience of doing the process under your belt. Because
if you were going to start it now, so obviously you're not that old, and you've got a young energy, you look young. You know, age really is actually just a number in a lot of cases. But if you were trying to do this now, how able would you be to go through the whole process you went through?
It's an interesting question, because like right now I'm not actually feeling very well anyway, so I've been sort of like zero. But it depends, because I think for me personally, like, the urgency's gone out of it a bit, but that's also probably because I've had a lot of years of doing it, and also a lot of experiences with it. Whereas if you're somebody, because we know other guys, you know, one of the coaches we work with who's in his 50s, later 50s, and he was like a right up a drain pipe, wasn't he?
He still is, really, isn't he? He's reliving his lost youth, because he was married for a long time and had 4 kids.
Yeah.
So he only really gets this stuff at like 40. So it's a different thing.
So I think it's possible. It doesn't mean you get to late 40s or whatever, and you're tired and you can't do it. That's not true. There are definitely people who can do it. But I do think people like David, he's a bit of an outlier, probably, isn't he? He's not the average kind of dude. And also, to be fair to him, he had spent a lot of time out and about in clubs and stuff, even in his younger days. So it wasn't that he was coming to it totally cold, you know? Whereas if you're a guy who's been, I don't know, just working on spreadsheets for 30 years, and then you're like, oh, hey guys, you know, it's going to be harder for you to... Because whereas if you spent a lot of your 30s and 40s doing this stuff and being social, practicing this stuff, then you get into, say, your late 40s or your 50s, you might not quite have the same drive, but you now know what to do. You can now pull the rabbit out of the hat effectively enough that you can ride with it. Whereas if you haven't done that and you're new to this, I think it's going to be very difficult for you.
Good points. I think the attitude you have to life is also important as well. When you realize actually a good default state to live in is kind of self-amused, calm, relaxed, nothing's a big deal, playful, and you bed that down as a social, emotional home. So an emotional home that you come back to when you're socializing, and you realize that gets you results. The earlier you do that, the better, right? Because that's an energy you can carry with you, even if you don't have as much energy mid-50s as you would do early 20s.
Yeah. So, all right, the next one, your social circle shrinks over time. Not definitely, but this is for a lot of people. In your 20s, opportunity is ambient. Parties, workspaces, travel, friends of friends. By late 30s, most peers are coupled, home-based or socially dormant. Less exposure equals fewer organic chances. So this is a good advert for learning cold approach, or for learning to flirt with the world, right? Because a lot of if you're somebody who's been relying on your social circle, or friends of friends, that kind of thing, the problem is a lot of those are going to be deeply embedded in their own lives. You know, they're bringing up the kids, they're going to the garden centre on a Saturday and all of that stuff. And it's not like university anymore. It's not like everyone goes out for a wild party every weekend. You know, it just isn't. And I think a lot of guys actually have a real problem transitioning in that phase, don't they? It's not just about girls. It's also about, my friendship group is now diversified.
I mean, we're lucky because we get to travel, and obviously we're often with clients in these locations, and we know people in these places. We always have people to hang out with. But the average dude who find himself single at 37 and all his friends are settled down, it is hard because you're kind of on your own. But just rest assured that there are millions of guys out there who are in the same position. And so we get a lot of inquiries for wings, you know, guys to be able to hang out with other guys. And luckily we have a massive network. We can put you in touch with other people. And also when you come to these boot camps, you meet loads of other dudes from around the world, similar position to you, and you bond with them. So that part is super important. You need to find a new tribe. You cannot rely on the guys you went to school with when they're settled down with kids. You can't drag Joy out to the bar anymore. be at one in Richmond, still try and wingman you when he's got 2 screaming babies at home. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What's the key point there?
The social
early, you're basically lonely when you get older.
Well, I mean, again, it doesn't. It's not a foregone conclusion. I mean,
No.
I'm not. I know, obviously know you. I know people through this industry, and I know a lot of other people, in London as well. So I'm not really. I personally don't have a huge problem with this, but it is a problem for a lot of guys. It is a problem for a lot of regular guys because we're
lucky though, because of the industry we work in. We meet a lot of people, and we get to around with people, don't we?
Yeah, but guys who are, because we got coach guys who will come to us, and their main problem is, I want to get better with women. I don't have a girlfriend. I want to meet you women. I want options and stuff. But underlying that is often the case. They don't actually have many friends either.
They don't have any friends. Most of these guys have no real male friends, and it's like that's a real problem, right? You need to operate with some people around. You need to be able to. There was one coach we used to work with, good guy, but kind of whatever. But his error was he didn't really have any male friends, and then in COVID, he had only been seeing women for like 2 years, and he turned up to meet a few of us in Mexico, and he was just acting weird because he hadn't been around a group of guys for 2 years. And you've got to have a strong group of guys you can call up when the shit hits the fan. You've got to have a few guys that you can call up, you can chat to if something goes wrong. And most men, I've noticed, very, very lonely because they don't have women, but they also don't have that group of guys.
Yeah.
So there is nothing to get on with it. Naturally, use the fact when you're younger, you are more connected. You're in a workforce. You've got your mates from home who haven't settled down from school, but also be safeguarding against this and just be thinking, right, actually, I do need to kind of make some male friends, right? I mean, we're both, we've got groups of people we can, if the shit hits the fan, call up and be like, oh shit, I need to chat. But a lot of guys don't have that. And that's where you get into a real issue with kind of loneliness and being too needy with women. You start needing the girl you're dating to be everything for you, be the rock you can fall back on, and also be your kind of your feminine outlet. And it's just putting way too much pressure on her. You need her to kind of save you. It's like, no.
We were having a conversation with a guy that we're working with, and we were saying he wanted to confide everything in this girl that he's currently seeing. And we were saying, well, no, because actually you've already confided it in us. And that's, we're playing the sort of surrogate. I mean, we are friends with him as well, but we're playing sort of surrogate friend, aren't we, to him? Yeah. And, because we're working with him, which is fine. And look, no shade to guys if you are socially feeling a bit isolated and everything. I mean, it's a really unfortunate thing. It's a really unfortunate aspect of modern society.
It's a real aspect of modern society, isn't it? This splendid kind of separation of everything. You talked about it, but having everything delivered on your doorstep, and there's this kind of isolation element. Almost society seems to be propagating to keep men relatively weak. You can't do anything as a man really on your own. You've got to have people around you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you wanted to go down a sort of conspiracy route of it, you could almost say, well, it's being done intentionally because they want us separated. They don't want us.
I wouldn't argue against that. I think there's some validity to that. I really do.
Well, there might be. I mean, but regardless of if there is or not, I mean, that's what's happening, isn't it? Because the technology, the delivery companies, like everything, like I've said before, I could just sit in here for like a month and,
But it's disastrously, it's as we know, it's disastrously lonely. Like it's not actually connecting with people when you are sat on your own and you're not getting out of the house every day. Again, this is an argument. Even if you're in this position, you go, "Fuck!" Actually, I've realised I've got no close male friends right now, and I'm not dating anyone. This is another argument to get out of the house every day and just be social. I guarantee, if you start being playful with strangers, opportunities open up. Suddenly, you get invited to something. Suddenly, you meet a guy you might vibe with traveling. It's a life skill. We weren't built to live by ourselves. If you look at human beings and look at the Evo Psych stuff, we've always lived in tribes. That's how we thrive. That's how we survive. So now sitting on your own by yourself in a house is not optimal for your mental health or any type of part of your life, really. It really isn't. We weren't meant to be these lone just traveling around by ourselves. No. And actually, if you look at people that have done that in this industry, it always ends in tears. Inevitably.
It really does. It really does. But there is, it's quite a common refrain from guys that I've either worked with or who, have been in contact.
Very
told
common
the story. And it's this kind of like, it often is along the lines of, it was great when I was in high school because I was sort of I was really popular. I had all these mates and a lot of the girls liked me and everything. And now I'm in my 30s, like that's not happening anymore. And they feel like they've been blindsided by life. But I think if you happen to be younger and you're watching this, you have to recognize, okay, that's going to be that I'm at risk of that happening one day. So you need to do something else. You need to not just follow the normal path, which is do nothing, and then all your mates get married, and then suddenly you're sitting on your own in a bedsit. Instead, you need to think, right, I'm going to learn cold approach skills so I can go out and meet new people. Ideally, try to build a network of male friends now that sustains, but also get the skill set so that you somehow can bring new people into your life.
Very, very important. And the benefits of the flip side to this, the positive thing is, we always seem to forget this, but we are all born alone. Yeah. Ultimately, so everyone else actually is in the same position as you. Yeah. But you've got to see if people are actually seemingly happy and content and have lots of friends. They're doing something that you're not doing. They're being social. Yeah, that's the differentiating factor, right?
Yeah, because I mean, and on the sunny side of this, I do think that there are more opportunities now than ever before to meet
than ever before, because you can meet so many. We're prompting one of our clients to do this, but it was a good suggestion from someone else. But even going to Facebook meetups of like expats in the city. Right, they often have Gringo Tuesdays or have frame. Right? Yeah, it seems a bit cheesy, but we roll along and you realize, oh shit, there's another 20 blokes who are also traveling around, kind of wanting to get laid, and suddenly you've connected with a few people, and those are people for you to hang out with and not be lonely with. It doesn't mean you have to jump into the pocket of, when I'm not spending every day with fucking Tom. It's like, no, you've got your accommodation, you're on your mission, but you go out, Tom, and hit a couple of bars, twice a week in Buenos Aires. Yeah. And it's way more fun than if you were doing that by yourself. Yeah. So, think about if you are building a good kind of social support network, how would it look for you? People are more introverted. You don't have to spend 24 hours with people. It's more like, okay, yeah, we're in the same city, blah, blah, blah. So super important. I think this part is not talked about actually in the industry at all, but it's massively underrated. I'd say most of the guys we work with, not only do they have poor lives, dating wise with women, they also have they don't really have any male friends, and that's a massive problem. Guys come and say, I'm just going to bang a few hotties, it's going to save me. It's like, no, bro, you've got to have a couple of male friends as well. And again, if you don't, maybe it's not your fault, but it's definitely your responsibility to figure that.
Because there are ways now to meet people more than ever before. I mean, in common interest groups and things. I mean, again, maybe it's a bit cheesy, but
I personally find it quite cheesy. I mean, I've traveled for large periods of on my own, and I'm lucky again because clients will come out. I like being around people, so I tend to get on with people quite well. But I can understand people being a bit, I don't want to do that because it's something I don't do. But
if you happen to be into a thing, like for example, this guy that I knew was a member of a climbing club, because a lot of people are quite into rock climbing in London. There's different climbing centres you go to and stuff like that. And he built up this amazing community of people. I mean, they're all a bit hippie-ish for me, but the amazing community of people who were just into climbing. So if you're genuinely into the thing, and you can then say to people, listen, after the session, why don't we all go, let's have a barbecue or something, right? You can, he built like this pretty big, network of friends through just that,
Yeah, take up new things and do group events around that, and you're naturally going to meet people, aren't you?
I mean, look at Epstein.
Look at who? Epstein. We often push guys to go and take up some sort of combat sport, right? So Muay Thai, boxing. Even if you just go and do that, you're going to meet a few guys down there. You need. As someone that's never struggled with this area, luckily, it's fortunate that I can get on with people quite well. But I see the benefit of having male people, male energy around. I grew up with 3 brothers as well, so I was used to being around male energy. But it's one thing having female energy. You need that female affection, of course. It's beautiful, right? You fall in lust with a girl, you're sitting there, rainy Sunday, on the couch, eating your fucking popcorn, watching a cheesy movie. Yeah, so it's a beautiful experience. It's a great part of life. But also, let's be honest, it's fucking fun. You're sitting down the bar with a couple of mates, you're doing some approaching, or you're trading war stories about what a fucking shit show last night was, how none of you got laid, but it's a bit of a laugh. You need that male bonding element. If you're missing either one of these things, your life is going to feel very incomplete. So you need to work
Yeah.
on both. Super
For
important.
sure. Definitely. Okay. So the fourth point, apps get more competitive every year. So this is something we talk about a lot on here. But as more men flood apps, attention concentrates further at the top. If your photos, physique, or lifestyle signals stagnate, your relative position declines, and even if you personally haven't got worse. It's inflation, but sexual. So yeah, the apps, we talk about this all the time, but super competitive. They're only getting more competitive. Well, actually, maybe they're not because people are leaving. Probably the women who are leaving.
I think the app that is relevant we can talk about that isn't strictly a dating app, but it's considered the world's biggest dating app is Instagram.
Yes.
Where you can do damage, but you're competing against everyone, the entire planet. So it's a supplement if it's engineered correctly, but it's not the solution.
Well, yeah, I mean, what we're saying here is that if you sort of stay still, then over time, you're going to get surpassed by the competition regardless. So even if you're kind of okay, but you're sort of staying still. So because the competition is increasing all the time. So again, I mean, really, get your social media sorted out. And we work with a guy. We can figure out, we can do photo shoots for you. We can do model parties for you. We can get you in glamorous locations. So reach out if that's of interest. We can definitely figure that out for you. But aside from that, this is another argument for meeting people in the real world. Because again, like we were saying yesterday, you can't get outdone by the algorithm in real life, but you can on Instagram. So,
I'm trying to think if there's a single argument for not actually going out and just learning to be social. I can't think of a single one. The only maybe one you can see is the early days of day game. I saw guys who got too addicted to it, and they're kind of walking around with a Tesco shopping bag, and you find out, oh, Dom, how's it going? He's like, well, actually, I got sacked because I was doing too much day game from work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not healthy if it becomes an obsession. And actually, we both drifted in and out of obsession with it, haven't we? At times.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was definitely a time when I was obsessed with it to the point that I was sort of, sometimes I might be with, like somebody I work with, or like, I mean, not necessarily a boss, but you know what I mean? And then I'd be like, oh, hang on a minute, and just run off and go and talk to some girl and stuff. And I mean, looking back on it now, you think actually, there is a time and a place. I mean, I know we're sort of like be always on and all that stuff, but it starts to get a little bit weirdly antisocial if you're with regular people and they're not in that mindset. Because I remember a friend of mine actually came down. He lived in Manchester. He came down to see me in London, and we were going around London and on the tube and stuff. And then I was like, oh, hang on a minute, and go off and talk to this girl for 15 minutes. He'd be like, what are you doing? Like, I came down to hang out with you, and So it does get a bit antisocial if you're not careful.
It almost becomes, and because when you start to get good at it almost becomes this party trick, doesn't it? If you're not saying, oh, let me show my mates because I'm now a bit of a player, but you kind of you're like, it doesn't not impress people in a way if you actually go get them. I remember being like, it was getting too far, and I remember meeting up with my mum. Went for Cote to Cote, the French restaurant in Bond Street, and I was like, it was in this phase of me doing too much approaching. I was like, obviously, I'm not going to approach. And the irony is, some cute girl walked past. I was in a suit, and she looked at me, and my mum saw. And I was like, I'm internally, I'm not going to approach. My mum actually looked at me and went, what about her? Used my life against me. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, no, Mum, I'm not going to approach. Because she obviously didn't know the depth of my approach obsession. I was like, no, it's ridiculous. Yeah. She obviously thought I was a bit of a puss because she didn't know I was approaching. She was like, really? And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, what's happened here?
You're even on some primal level. We're even being judged by our mothers. That's the sad thing.
Well, that's the whole Freuding thing. And they say actually, and I was trying to think about this the other day, you end up dating people who look a bit like your mum. And I was just trying to think, have any of my exes looked like my mum? Maybe a little bit, one of them.
Funnily enough, that did actually happen to me. I realised one of them, she did, because I've seen like photos of my mum when she was younger, and one of it was bizarrely a Ukrainian girl, but she looked a little bit like her. I was like, oh, that's a bit weird.
Yeah. Just to be clear, it's not your mum in the current phase of her life. It's like the idea. It's when she's young. Do they match the women we're dating when they're young as well? There's some elements to it, but I mean, then again, not spectacularly similar. Or maybe it's to do with personality. Actually, they say you'll date people similar personality. Well, I can't remember what Freud said. He was a weirdo. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So get off the apps, or at least don't rely on the apps as your main your main.
But
advert.
optimize it. Like, it's stupid if you think, okay, I can just get away with having no Instagram, because I know good looking guys and former coaches of ours who are sworn off it because they don't want that kind of worms. It's like, well, fine, but it will work against you. It's a bit like fashion. You can have a really stylish wardrobe sourced out for you in a day, and if you don't do that, it's probably going to work against you. Same with Instagram. You can sort it out. It just sits there. It's got 5 photos on the profile. It looks good. You occasionally update it with stories. You've got a decent number of followers. Done. Right? Yeah. It's not going to work against you. But if you just don't have it, it probably will.
If you want to upgrade your Instagram, drop us an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jonestuss.com, because we do work with this guy Felipe who can really help with that whole process and make your Instagram not just upgrade it, make it top tier.
And also kind of run modelling events. So something we're doing in Sao Paulo later, end of March, is a couple of clients coming over. Felipe's there, and he's going to set up a shoot in a cocktail bar where there's going to be say 10 girls, me, Felipe, a couple of clients, and it's just an easy way to meet people. Right? We're there. We're just being social, and it's access. And so that's something cool you can do with Instagram as a supplement to cold approach. But still, if you think about it. And we had this exact thing. We did this exact thing with Felipe, but the client we took along at the time wasn't feeling very social, and he hadn't been that social the few months before. So it was a bit of a car crash because he sat in the corner a little bit kind of refrained and awkward. So it just goes to show you still need the cold approach skills. You still need to be bantering, flirting the world, because if you're in this Instagram scenario with hot models, if you start acting weird, you're going to get found out as well. So again, even Instagram, you need to be being social anyway. You
need, the basic practice of going out, talking to 2-3 new people a day it's going to work for you in almost any scenario. I mean, somebody was asking in the comments under one of the other streams about the Michael Sartain thing and
well, this is the Felipe thing I just mentioned is kind of a spin-off of the Sartain thing, but you still need to. The irony with Sartain's thing is he still gives about 6 months cold approach training, just hidden behind the scenes.
Right. Okay. Because that's super important. Because I think, guys, you look at the marketing and you think, "Oh, great! So I'll just get these."
Yeah, because it says no cold approach. But the irony is, because I know people that work deeply in this company, and I know the whole setup is they basically take guys and for 6 months train them socially because you can't not.
Because even if you get to a point where you could send out DMs to a bunch of girls on your Instagram or just Instagram generally, get them all to turn up to a club, and if you haven't practiced that stuff, you're just going to be sitting in the corner while they all drink the alcohol that you bought.
It's happened many times. We've had it in clients in Bogota, where he has a very optimized client profile for Instagram, not client, just profile. And he said hot girls are turning up and getting bored straight away on dates because, he hasn't got the verbal, he hasn't got the energy, the riz in person, the charm. He hasn't worked on it. He's quite nervous.
Then it's like a Wizard of Oz thing, isn't it? Where they turn up to see the wizard and they look behind the curtain and it's just a shriveled guy sitting in the corner,
For me, it was about feeling. So I remember just being like, I got into cold approach and I got cheated on by this girl who slept with a rival of mine, and that drove me the negative vibe. But I was just like, right, I don't want to feel that helpless again. And part of the reason I was also horny like Troy, so I wanted to get laid, but I just didn't want to feel helpless anymore. I didn't want to be in a position with women where I was kind of second guessing myself, closed up, feeling nervous, and I was just like, I know I've got to just work on this shit because it's just a very insecure place to be as a guy. Second guessing yourself when a bunch of women are around. And I get it. A lot of men have this, but it can be worked on. And I promise you it's easier with exposure. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, so the next one, this kind of dovetails a bit. 5, delayed skill acquisition compounds difficulty. So the more that you leave it, the more that you don't learn the skill set, it's going to get harder. Men who avoid dating in their 20s, 30s don't just lose time, they lose practice reps. By the time they engage seriously, they're competing against men with decades of social calibration. It's like entering a fight mid-round. So that's true as well, isn't it? If you've just left this stuff and you haven't really concentrated on it, you haven't got any practice under your belt, you're coming into the market fresh. There's people who are just who've got decades of practice with this stuff that you're competing directly against.
Yeah. I mean, we even say to guys, look, it's a bit harder because the drive really isn't there if they're not cheating on their missus, but even guys in relationships, we say, look, you should really go out and be social every day, just if and when, not deliberately going to do cold approach, but any chance you get, practice the skill of being playful, flirting, teasing with hired guns, with person serving you coffee, girl letting you into the gym, because if you come out of a relationship, you don't just want to be caught cold. Women can automatically, if she's relatively good looking, go and get 100 guys who are willing to sleep with her, right? Just by putting herself online. You, if you've atrophied the skill set by not speaking to any other women for 5 years, when you've been with Sheila, you're starting from scratch. You don't need to do that. You need to safeguard yourself. And the irony is, the more you keep yourself match fit, the less chance your relationship has of breaking up anyway. Because women want to be with a guy that can get other women.
Yeah, and they'll sense the decline in you, and they'll sense the fact that you don't really have options, and that's. It
was mental when I was dating my ex. Even with the periods I wasn't cheating on her religiously, she would say if I'd spoken to a few girls that day, because I'd been out with clients and whatever, and we've been doing some approach, and I just had this certain this energy to me, and I could just see she was more engaged. Whereas if I'd gone a couple of weeks without speaking to women, it dropped off, right? Even in the relationship, and I was never telling her, I spoke to 3 girls, Sarah. Didn't. It was just something she sensed.
Yeah. No, fantastic. The perception that they've got for that stuff.
You can't trick the universe, can you? I mean, women are, as much as we think we're all smart as men and we can kind of trick women. You can't. Women are just incredibly attuned to what you present, your energy, your vibe, whether you get laid, whether you can hold tension in the eye contact, whether you can crack jokes, whether you can be at ease in yourself. You can't fake this stuff. They have a dog scent because they don't want dud sperm. So you can't trick them. They're going to know. And it's simply, are you dating the women you want to be dating? If you're not, you're getting found out in some aspect, or you're just doing nothing, or a combination of both.
Definitely. Right, number 6, physical edge has a shelf life. You can maintain attractiveness longer than ever before, but only with active effort, training, grooming, style, posture, health markers. Neglect accelerates decline, maintenance slows it. Time punishes passivity. So,
yeah. Again, use these value adds, the presentation side of it, the black pill side, as we could say, the look side. Yeah, you can absolutely refine it over time. You get in better and better shape, well dressed, blah blah blah, or you just do nothing. It compounds against you. Yeah.
So Clavicula's been charged with some felonies, apparently. By the way,
what, hitting people in the head, force feeding them meth?
Well, drug possession, I think, was one of them. And
unsurprising, if he's just going on live streams talking about the fact he takes meth, and he actually does it. Then just walking around with a meth pipe. I mean, presumably
you can go into a bar with a fake ID, because the thing is he's 20.
That's what he got charged with.
Well, there's that, but there's another one which was a sort of more serious one, because I think there was this thing on. Did you see that clip on the internet? He rammed in someone with a car or something.
Yeah, I did actually.
Anyway, guys, you have to look it up. But anyway, he got charged with some stuff, which is quite funny. But
I mean, that he literally ran someone over.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously the most serious thing.
I saw it on Wheat Waffles. I saw it on Wheat Waffles channel. He was just running someone over casually, but surely he couldn't have gotten a felony for walking into a bar with a fake ID. That seems incredibly hard.
Well, I think that's a very minor thing, but the drug possession thing could be a bit.
I mean, meth is a serious drug, not to be messed with.
Yeah. So what have we done? Okay. So psychological rigidity increases with age. Older men often become less adaptable, less playful, more guarded. Dating rewards emotional agility, not just experience. If you become set in your ways, attraction feels effortful rather than fluid. So that's a good point, isn't it? It's not. Look, a lot of our clients are older guys, right? A lot of our clients are guys in their 40s, late 40s, going into their 50s, right? It's absolutely fine. You can definitely learn this stuff. Our colleague David learned this stuff in his late 40s, and he's one of the most socially fluid people on the planet, right? But it does get harder. And we do also meet guys who are of that age, and they're just a bit stiff, they're a bit stuck in their ways, they're not really very down with how modern culture works, and it's very hard to break out of that.
Yeah, very rigid. A lot of guys we work with are more logical minded. You know, they're on that engineering side, great for planning, logistics, battles, really, war strategy, but terrible for engaging the emotion of women. Women want to be led, you know, they want to be taken through a range of emotion, the ups, the downs, the pleasure, the pain, also while having fun and not take it too seriously. And it's a skill that can be learned, absolutely, but you need to exercise that deliberately and be playful. There's really not any time I can think of where it doesn't pay to just be self-amused and slightly playful. in social situation. I can't think of a single time really as a baseline. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, if you're having a serious conversation with a girl about she's fucked up, or you've got a, this big life change, or with a male friend about, oh, fuck, we got to handle this. Yeah, you're not joking then. But the default should be always baseline of calm, self-amused, playful. And then you flip into serious mode if needed occasionally. That's how it should be.
Well, Justin's in the chat. I mean, why you're watching this stuff, Justin, I've got no idea, really. But anyway, when you get older, you give less fucks, less social adaptation, which is true. That's a good counter argument, actually, because you get older, you don't really care as much. You don't care what people
That's true. That's true.
So there is that. But as I said, I mean, we've met plenty of guys who are a bit older, and they're actually just very stiff and very set in their ways. And I mean, we've had a couple of slightly tragic events, haven't we? Taking guys to bars in like Bogota and stuff. And there's all these young 23-year-old girls who want to have fun. And the guys are standing there with their sort of Marks and Spencer's pullover on and go, oh, how do I get down with the kids? And it's a bit like, it's not about pretending to be young, but you've got to have a certain like looseness in your demeanor, I think.
Well, it's actually based on what Justin says there. He's got a good point. As you get older, you do give less social fucks, and then combined with the fact that really you have to be more playful to get younger women. That's actually a perfect storm because you care less, you can experiment more. But what guys tend to do is don't do that. They're very rigid, and because they haven't flirted or been playful with the world for 40 years, suddenly they're coming out of their marriage, and it's like, well, you've got to start from ground zero. And it is tough. Right? It can be done, but it's tough. It's tough because when your habits have been built over 40, 50 years, it's hard to change them. It's hard to dislodge them. It can't be done.
Again, this is all building the case for the fact that really you want to be taking action now. The best time to start with this was 10 years ago.
If I had my time again, I wish someone had just been like at 18, like get the fuck out of the house, start talking to women. I wish, I did it at 27, but it would have been, if I'd done it at 18, it would have made my time at university way more prolific with women, which it's an incredible time if you think about it, to make the most of it. You're with horny women who are in their prime, 18, 22. Everyone's just getting drunk and doing nothing. If you get this shit handled at a very young age, it's the perfect time to make the most of that. But if you don't, you're going to just be you're going to be bitter because you're going to see these few guys in the sports team and the rugby team or the quarterback, the NFL, the American football team's killing it. And you're going to be sat on the sideline going, for fuck's sake, and watching them literally work their way through all the cheerleaders. It's a very fucking annoying place to be. Because it happens to most men.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, there is some truth. I mean, as being older, I do give less of a fuck about what people think. And that has been really useful to me.
It can be useful, can't it, if you engineer it the right way? Yeah,
but I've also got years and years and decades, really, of putting the reps in. So I can bring the not giving a fuck to a foundation of knowing what the reps are, if that makes sense. If you haven't done the reps, you don't know what you're doing, then it doesn't really matter if your congruence is going to be out, I think. I think that's kind of what it comes down to. That's what we're describing with some of these guys. I'm thinking about one very rich client we were in a bar with in the late afternoon in Bogota. And he was standing there, a little bit awkward and sort of,
What was the bar out of interest?
I can't remember, but they were playing some loud music and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Was it the afternoon? Were we in the bar? Were we getting started that early?
Well, what happens in Bogota stays in Bogota. So the next one, number 8, women's timeline shift 2. So as women age, many prioritize stability, clarity, and direction faster. Windows for casual ambiguity narrow. Men arriving late to the market face partners with more defined expectations. The tone of dating changes. Well, unless you're dating younger women, of course, and that's the sort of the hack, right? Because if you're dating people who are the same age as you, or I don't know, let's say in their 30s and up, then all of that's going to come into play. And a lot of guys, they come into the dating market and they think, whatever age they are, they think, well, I can only date people within a few years of my age. So that's who they tend to be naturally drawn to. But when that happens, then you find yourself in a whole other quagmire because suddenly she wants you to, she wants a house or she wants you to move in after 3 months or whatever. And
dating by age is so important. Again, I'm late 30s and I deliberately will date women because I'm traveling around. I want to have kind of fun, obviously connection, but nothing serious at this stage. 18, 24, and I very much screen by age. You know, if I meet a really cool girl and we really vibe and she's, you know, mid late 20s, I'm not going to say no,
Yeah,
right? But I'm not. That's not what I'm looking for by any means, because women at that age tend to want something different, right?
but
They want stability. They want to cash their chips out.
yeah, but you know, because we've seen this with people that we work with, where older guys, they get into relationships with somewhat old, not old women, but somewhat older women. You know, women in their 30s, going into their late 30s, and suddenly they've got all of this headache of like, oh, she's trying to get me to move in. She's trying to lock me down. She wants to have a kid in 2 weeks' time, and it's like, well, yes, but naturally, that's what you're going to come to blows with if you're dating women of that age, right?
You can't.
So,
It's so fixable. You can't beat evolution, right? Women are revolutionary purists. They really do operate often by age. Now, look, if a girl's just come out of a relationship age 30 and she's on the rebound, yeah, she might bang you like she would have done, you know, in her early 18-year-old experimental years. But the reality is, it's very clear. 18, 24, 25. Usually, women are just experimenting, want to have fun, no strings attached. Late moving towards mid 20s, it can go either way. Late 20s upwards, they're absolutely, most women are looking for something different. They've often come out of a relationship. They may have been married. They may have a kid. They want to settle down. So if you're dating women who are 32, 33, or 34, thinking, oh, you know, it's an easy bang, it comes with a lot of strings attached.
yes,
It's way easier to date women who are younger. And yes, you're going to get people criticizing in the Anglosphere. As a late 30s man, if I'm seen probably out and about by people I know with a 21-year-old, they're absolutely going to judge me. But it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong biologically, right? This is I'm not trying to push this agenda towards Epstein Island, but there's nothing wrong with that. Interestingly, in Latin America, in Eastern Europe, where I spend a lot of time, it's absolutely normal to see an older guy with a girl between the age of 18 and 24. It's considered normal. But in the Anglosphere, because of the feminism movement, it's considered weird. But you're not doing anything wrong, actually. So just
it's it's a cultural thing. It's very much a cultural
thing.
So,
and you will get shit, but fuck people. But fuck what people think, right?
yeah. So Sheep Value says, guys, I can't do your upcoming boot camp in South America. Are you guys going to run a boot camp in Europe? Yes, we've got many coming up. Do you guys have a date range on your next boot camp? So
yes, we do. We've got a full list. Send us an email, info@james.tuss, Troy at Real Troy France.com, include your WhatsApp number. Our next European stop will be Warsaw in May. So that's the big one.
So
Europe.
do I just send you guys an email? Yes, you do. And he said, I know James had to do a boot camp to push himself to approach, struggling with the same thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll get in touch, man. So I put the email addresses in the chat. Just drop us an email now, troy@realtroyfrancis.com and info@jamestuss.com. And
that saved me so much pain. I'm so glad I was the opposite when I started doing this stuff, because I tried to go out and I tried to approach and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I did that 2 weekends in a row. I was like, fuck this. I can't wait to throw my money at someone. Just couldn't do it. There's no shame in that, right?
Yeah.
You may have a lot of approach anxiety at the beginning. You may be like I was, a massive overthinker, always doom and glooming the worst case scenario, but essentially trapped in my own head. So I'd already taught myself out. I'd do the opposite of the Sun Tzu, guarantee victory, and talk myself out of everything, women-wise, beforehand. So I just wouldn't take any action. So it took a couple of guys, Tom Serrera, John Matrix, to throw me in a couple of hundred times over a weekend in London. And that broke the back of the anxiety, because I realized, my nervous system realized, oh, you don't die. Yeah, you feel a bit of adrenaline, but okay, whatever. So 100% is the right move. Don't watch any more content. Just come out, meet us, and just do it. 100%. Sensible man, value. Not a sensible name, but a sensible man.
Yes. All right. So number 9, regret builds quietly, then loudly. So men rarely regret acting and failing. They regret waiting, delaying, postponing life until things are sorted. By the time things are sorted, the window they imagined they had forever has narrowed. So yeah, if you're sitting here watching this, there's a bunch of you now watching this. Probably it's because you're not entirely happy with your dating life. Okay. So what are you going to do about that? Probably nothing, because that's what 99.9% of you do. Fine. But it's not going to get any easier. The problem's not going to get any better. The problem's just going to get harder for the reasons that we've outlined today. And one day you're going to regret it, because you're like, oh yeah, I'll sort this out one day. I'll sort this out in a few, a couple of years or whatever. I'll just let it fly. And then you're going to come to the market and things will have moved on massively. You won't have had the experience. You won't have had the reps, and you'll be in a much worse position. And then you'll think, shit, like we do. You'll think, shit, if only I'd have done this so much earlier.
Yeah, I've had a couple of clients in recent months who have been early 60s, and they have this kind of joy of like actually getting good reactions from women. We're going around, they're getting numbers, getting dates in Latin America, for example.
Yes.
And I can see they're genuinely in a pleasurable state, but at the same time, I see this occasional streaks of deep melancholy, and I'm like, Mr. R, what's wrong? And he just goes, I just wish I'd known this stuff 30 years ago.
I mean, I wish I'd known this stuff 10 years earlier than I did.
Same.
Because it would have massively helped me out. And actually, I wish I'd have known the stuff in my late teens, really.
I mean, even early teens. Imagine if you'd actually like accidentally been out, just being social with women between the ages of say 11 to 14. And you come into that real puberty bit, 15, 16, and you actually know what you're doing, and you actually can fuck all these women. Well, back then at school, when there was the one fucking Chad getting laid, and everyone was so jealous because he's actually getting laid. All of the fucking hot girls, and it's just like you're sitting there having to fucking masturbate, not in front of him, but shamefully in your own. It's like the earlier you learn this stuff, the more prevalent, the more beautiful it is.
I mean, because I didn't understand the dynamics at all, I massively wasted my teenage years because there were opportunities in my teenage years, and I just didn't take them up because I was always, obsessing about, what about Zoe in class 5B? She's so great and blah blah blah, and inevitably she wouldn't be interested. But there were other opportunities there, and if I'd have understood these dynamics, my life would have been very different. Now we caught up later, but if that's us saying that, and we started in our late 20s. Depending on how old you are, you need to be getting going with this stuff now, because there's a world of opportunity out there. But if you're not putting yourself out there and making the most of that, then you're wasting your life, basically.
I always thought at school it was a case of, right, there's certain guys that get laid, there's certain guys that don't. It's just some guys seem to get it and some guys don't. Yeah. But it is a learnable skill. We can guarantee you it is learnable. It can be worked on, but you need to actually do it.
And that was something I never understood when I was.
I'm the same as you. I wish I'd just somehow started this at 11 years old, just running around. Obviously not. You wouldn't be getting laid, but just working on the skills of just being playful and teasing women, learning to flirt. So important.
Yeah. All right. Number 10. The window closing is a warning, but it's not a death sentence. All right. The closing window doesn't mean you're doomed. It means urgency matters. Men who respond proactively can still improve their physique and presence, build social environments, date internationally and intentionally, develop communication skills, leverage status and lifestyle, and choose environments that reward them. The market is harsher, but harsh markets reward prepared players disproportionately. I think that's quite a good point, isn't it? It is. We were kind of saying this yesterday. The market is tough. But in a way, that toughness is a benefit if you're prepared to step out of the matrix and just go for what you want, because so few people are doing it.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. It's definitely, if you see it glass half full, it's a massive opportunity because we're at the most connected time we've ever been digitally. You can go anywhere in the world on a plane in 12 hours. You can hack the market, put yourself as a valuable object, and then if you're from the Anglosphere or from Europe. It's a wonderful time if you're willing to take initiative as a man, but it's a terrible time if you're not.
Yes,
and the data backs it up. The top percentage of men are getting laid more than ever before, and everyone else is not. But the softness of man is a beautiful opportunity. If you think to be considered alpha by a woman in pretty much every country you go to, you only have to be able to walk up and start a conversation in a playful manner. Women will consider you brave and alpha. That's an amazing time to be alive. Because it's a learnable skill set.
Absolutely.
It just goes to show the softness of man, right? No one can do it. If you can, you're considered brave and alpha. I mean, I like those odds. Play with those odds. It's great. Great opportunity.
Absolutely. Indeed. Okay. Should we have a look at some comments?
Well, yeah. Impressive from Justin. His 14-year-old son is already gamed up. Well done, sir. You're absolutely moving in the right direction there. I commend you. Good parenting.
Yeah. Okay. So we've done an hour now, so we can have a quick look at some comments.
Parish comments.
Yeah. I mean, Jim's just spammed the chat with so many comments, but he's married with a kid. So
forget him. Let's limit parish comments to so you get seven parish comments. So pick them wisely.
Yeah. Steve Jabber is basically a Google Calendar for celibacy. Lol.
That's one comment, but well used. I'm glad we used one on that. It was worth it.
All right. Here's an interesting one. Does TRT make your libido higher than when you were in your 20s?
Yes, initially for the first 2 years it does, and then it's weird because it kind of stabilizes and kind of just levels, and you're not as horny as pre-TRT. Weirdly, so
yeah, I would sort of co-sign that actually. I don't think I suppose when you first start, it does give you a jolt for sure. But it does kind of then level out. Is it ever as quite the same white hot heat as your 20s? I don't know. Maybe
no.
But
it's biology if you think about it. You're younger, you're hornier, and you still have a sex drive on CRT. But it's if I hook up with a couple of girls a week as a single guy now, I'm fine with that. Right, that would be the limit. Yeah. Whereas the 20s, you could bang every night and be kind of wanting more, couldn't you?
Yeah, completely. I think other things just sort of start to take priority as well when you get older, which is not a bad thing. This isn't a bad thing. And if the guy's asking that because he's thinking, oh, so can I take TRT? I'm going to be super horny forever. That's not necessarily something you want. Like, take it from me. No. When you get the monkey off your back, it's actually fucking good. It's actually it's a relief.
Means you can focus on other things, build your empire elsewhere.
So this guy says, where are the top places to cold approach? I found my most successful approaches through grocery stores, believe it or not. For more indirect ways to meet people in general, what do you suggest? I mean, anywhere. Really. I mean,
particular places I like and that have paid dividends for me. Ironically, it's not charging around the street. The reason you see a lot of street approaches because it's high impact, front stopping girl, and it's most places you go, that's legal. There's no issues with film. But places I typically will approach a lot, especially I'm in Brazil, it's hot weather, a lot of approaching on the beach, along kind of Rio, the promenade that lines up. Definitely gyms. I'll moonlight between different gyms and just start conversations with girls. I like girls who are in shape. No one's approaching in gyms. Coffee shops, I do a lot in there because there's often hot girls working by themselves, and shopping malls, working in clothing stores, jewelry stores, often girls there. So these are typical places I'd frequent that maybe people don't think of.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I would just say,
second part of this question there.
Sorry?
What would you suggest for that, Troy? For more indirect ways to meet people in general, what do you suggest?
Well, I guess things like the gym, or I don't know really. I mean, if he means genuinely indirect ways to approach people, that's not really what I recommend. I mean, what I would recommend is forget about, after the first few times and you've got yourself into this and you've practiced it and everything else, forget about going out for like, oh, where's my next day game session going to be? It's just about living your ordinary life. And then you'll see people anywhere. Yeah. We always say the coffee shop, in the queue for the, for Starbucks, in the laundrette, in the dry cleaners. I mean, there are so many places you can have a conversation with somebody anywhere. And that's the whole point of this, really. It's not so much like, oh, where's the most target rich? I mean, grocery stores are pretty good, actually. Grocery stores are decent. And particularly for people in, like, say, America, where if you're in LA or something, I mean, the grocery stores there are some of the best places to do it. But it's not even thinking outside the box. It's just walking around, being observant, and you see somebody who looks interesting and then seizing that opportunity to go and talk to them.
Yeah.
I mean, most big metropolitan areas, you're going to find a lot of people. As an introvert, does it get easier to be more playful when peopling is like pulling teeth?
I mean, anything is at social skills. It's in the name. Anything that's a skill set over time becomes easier because it's something you confidence is just simply situational confidence, right? So, confidence is situational competence. So you do something enough, it becomes easier. If you crack jokes with people 50 times in a row, that joke is way easy to crack. If you go out self-amusing, saying stuff to people, you don't. There's a kind of misinterpretation with guys thinking a lot of guys you work with are more introverted. They like their time alone. That's fine. You have to be on your own to build your empire, right? Do your other things, get on with life. But you have to be, you can't use that as an excuse not to be good with people when you do mingle with people. You don't have to be approaching groups, but you've got to be comfortable one-on-one with men and women and be able to seduce and be able to just bond with men. And if you can't do that, that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I know anybody who is so introverted that they aren't able to. I mean,
A lot
introversion.
a lot of people we work with, they really struggle even to leave the house. I think to do approaching. Honestly, I think a lot of the guys are extremely introverted.
Well, maybe
But
okay. Well, maybe I've been a fake introvert all this time then, really. Because even me, even in my most extreme times, I've always liked to. Well, I've always been able to sort of go and have a laugh with people and stuff like that. Now, I do like to then get away.
yeah,
I don't want to necessarily be out all night with a bunch of 20 people, but yeah, I don't know. You've got to work your way through it.
Yeah, I think again, if you're struggling, it sounds like Lord Gonzo 6611. That possibly you're struggling with the first part of the process, which is just being more social, working on the social freedom aspect, being able to just speak to people. If that's the case, and it's the case for a lot of guys, including me, I was very, very stifled with the stuff. You've got to get some feedback. You've got to get thrown in, and again, in-person coaching is probably the way.
Indeed. Okay.
Three comments left. 3 parish notices left.
Which? Oh, right. Okay. So
on our list, to limit the parish notices.
All right. Did you guys experience many moments of wanting to give up in your first 2 years of learning game? No,
not at all. And if you've gone out again and you're struggling with this stuff, like you say you are, it's going to be very demoralizing because you're not really doing it and you're thinking about it a lot. That's the perfect recipe to just want to check out. So again, I'd email and come along and meet us. That'd be the thing to do in your position.
Yeah, I think that might be more or less it, really.
Okay.
Peckham is my new go-to place. Seems to be having its moment. Yeah, Peckham.
Yeah. All of these places are quite fun. The gentrification of London. It was back in the day when I was still living in London. Brixton was kind of the place to go out.
Well, I mean, Peckham is actually.
As well.
Sorry.
Balham as well. I used to go out in Balham a bit.
Balham's quite good. I mean, Peckham
very gentrified now.
Yeah, Peckham is pretty gentrified now. I was there last year a few times. It's yeah. I mean, wherever really,
wherever floats your boat. Yeah.
Sorry.
Wherever floats your boat, socially, go out. I'm a big fan of. Look, I think day game guys can be quite weird because they're like, I've got to do day game, and it's great you're approaching women in the daytime. But I think a well-rounded guy is also able to go out and go to a couple of bars occasionally, especially if you're in your 20s, early 30s. I get it. Some people aren't just very geared towards night stuff, but I don't see the harm in pushing your comfort zone a bit. And actually, in some ways, it's way more fun. And the chance to take your girl home and getting physical with her is increased massively on night out than it is for day game. Because day game tends a bit slower, unless it's what I'm going into now, Rio Carnival, where it's just crazy street game in the daytime. But it's just, I did my time with bars and I loved it. It was fun. You charge around, you have a couple of drinks and you just let loose and no one knows who the fuck you are. And you can go for it a bit more because women are going out expecting to meet people. So you can push it. I think mingle in some bar game for sure.
Absolutely. And let's finish with this one. Hello, everybody. That's the end of the stream.
Sutats has been watching our stuff for many, many moons. So I'm not sure who you are, sir. And it looks like, judging on that photo, you've always had a bird, but we appreciate the support nonetheless. What was that Steve Jabber one again? Can we just end with that? Because that was actually it's a great comment.
You can't end. You can't.
Steve Jabber. Something about a Google Calendar.
Oh yeah, Steve Jabber is basically a Google Calendar for celibacy. Today's task: accept yourself. Tomorrow's task: accept yourself also.
Is he now gone very self-help with his message?
Well, I don't know. I don't watch his stuff. I mean, I don't know why anybody's watching his stuff, to be honest. All right, that's unfair. He's a fellow content creator. Watch his stuff if you want, but I mean,
he's a clown. Look, we'll not slag people off, but he's a buffoon. Let's just be honest.
But you guys come on here and you're talking about these people as if these are serious. Oh, well, what's Steve? We need to consider what Steve Jabber's saying. I mean, no, we don't. What relevance does this dude have? I'm sorry.
Yeah, what to say other than, lads, the window is closing faster than you think. The modern dating reality check has arrived, has come, and get on with it. And if you're in need of getting this stuff fixed or you have any questions, as usual, send us an email, info@jamestuss.com, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and include your WhatsApp number because that's how we do things. and
Yeah.
we will see you again in a stream soon.
Bye.